Hello and welcome to the Streamline and Shine podcast. My name is Steph Bolton and I'm one third of Bolton Virtual Solutions, a team made up of me, Mum, and my two daughters, Sam and Amy. Our family virtual assistant agency's absolute passion is helping time-poor female entrepreneurs with those ridiculously long to-do lists, because we all know how they get longer instead of shorter, so that they're able to focus on doing what they love. You're going to want to stick around if you find yourself constantly just doing this thing quickly instead of spending time with your family, or if you look at your list of tasks and feel like crying, or even if you're just simply wondering how to manage your time better and delegate to your team. We're going to be covering topics from social media to marketing, systems and processes to outsourcing and so much more, so that you can see what's possible for you and your business. So let's get stuck in. Hello and welcome back to the Streamline and Shine podcast with me, Steph Bolton, and I am so excited to welcome our interviewee this week, Robin Waite, who, funnily enough, I only heard of a couple of months ago and I've turned into a super fan already. So Robin is a business coach, a best-selling author, a business speaker, a dad and husband, and also a Guinness World Record holder. So welcome, Robin.
Oh, thank you, Steph. Gosh, that's an introduction and a half, isn't it?
So, you're here to talk to us today about what, Robin? What did we decide on?
Well, primarily my thing's about pricing. So productizing
Mm.
services, pricing and money mindset, and basically helping people to raise their game in terms of making more money. So especially if they're in the business world.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, how did you come around to this being your thing? What happened for you to realize that?
Oh, great question. I'd love the way that you framed that question. So it was a bit of a happy accident, actually. So for the first 11 years of my career, ran a marketing agency. So I was very much an introvert, hiding behind computers, doing web design and branding for people, and search engine optimization and loads of really geeky, fun stuff like that. And then 2016 rolled around. I've been doing it for 12 years, and life kind of got in the way a little bit. So, well, not in the way, but life changed. So I was in between my two daughters. So my eldest at the time was just about one. My youngest was about to be born. And I realized that agency life wasn't really for me. It was just lots of late nights. We had lots of clients sort of clamoring for our attention. Slightly dysfunctional small team, but probably because they were managed by me. I just agency life wasn't for me. So I had a bit of an epiphany, and I didn't want to waste like my second daughter's kind of, my paternity leave. And so went to close the agency down and actually ended up having an offer from somebody to come in and buy it, not for much money, but enough of an earnout over 2 years to make it,
Mm.
to turn my head, and I said yes to it. And then what happened is, so I had a few months off, sort of enjoying my paternity leave and spending time with my young family, and then realized that I needed some adult conversations back in my life again. So started going to working meetings. And of course, the first question everybody asks you at these damn meetings is, "So what do you do?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
Nothing really." And kind of, well, you must do something. I'm like, because you look young enough that you should still be working. I was like, well, no, I sold my agency recently, and I'm kind of just deciding on what my next step is. And what then happened? People, of course, all the agency owners then come to me like, "Oh, you sold your agency. How did you do that?" And I didn't realize how rife it was that all of these small business owners, agency owners, were massively unhappy, working ridiculous hours and not getting paid their worth. They bribed me with coffee and cake. I did some free informal mentoring completely for free to begin with. And it transpired, actually, it was one that I was very passionate about. I didn't realize until I started talking to people about it that I was very passionate about sort of getting paid your worth. And
Mm.
I also realized that we had some unique things that I'd done during my agency that actually built some of the value in it, which made it saleable in the end, which I didn't realize I'd done at the time.
Mm.
And then actually my clients that I was speaking to, they weren't clients at the time, they were just mentees. They got really good results. So their businesses started to grow and they started to make more money. Um, and eventually I got to a point where I was about halfway through my earnout and realized I needed to replace some of that income, because it was going to peter out sort of 24 months into it. So started up Fearless Business, which is the coaching practice I run now. And I suppose the rest is history.
Okay. So where did Fearless come from?
Oh, Fearless was a happy accident. Seems that this is like the story of my life for the last 10 years, but it was I was delivering a talk. So originally I was Robin Waite business coach. I didn't immediately become the Fearless business coach. But I was delivering a talk. There was about 80 to 100 people there, and a very good friend of mine, Adam, was in the audience, and somebody asked me a question because they were like, "Oh, you seem like you're really confident. Like I'm not confident. How do you like, what do you say to somebody who needs to get more confidence in their business?" I
Mm,
said, "Well, you just need to be fearless." And they were like, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, you need to fear the things in business ever so slightly less that are currently holding you back, that's stopping you from achieving your goals." I
yeah.
said, "You don't need to be reckless and just go in like, all guns blazing. It's just like if you're afraid to stand up and do a 60-second pitch or stand up here on the stage or maybe raise your prices, you need to fear that less.
Yeah.
Just enough so that you can get through that fear and do the thing."
Mm.
My mate Adam stood up in the middle of me talking and pointed at me and went, "Robin Waite, the fearless business coach." And that kind of stuck at that point.
There it is.
Yeah, I was like, "Adam, you can sit down now." It's literally, I was like 100
This is my
people.
moment.
But yeah, it stuck. And eventually, so I started off as Robin Waite, the fearless business coach. And then it transmogrified into Fearless Business as the sort of brand and the business accelerator I've got
Yeah,
now.
I love that. And it's nice that it's got like fearless, I think obviously speaks for itself on its own, but the meaning behind it, fearless, like breaking it down a little bit further, I think it's really effective. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and then there's
Um,
a couple of other aspects to it as well. So when I went through the branding exercise to kind of create the logo and everything, once I'd kind of decided on the name, um, my branding expert, amazing woman called Satna, she went through this process of kind of unearthing my values, and very much in those early days, I'd conformed to like traditional or coach stereotypes, which was
mm,
button-down shirt, chinos, and the shiny brown shoes, right?
nice.
Um, and felt massively uncomfortable in the process. And then as we were chatting, so I'd also eventually I broke out of that and I started wearing these t-shirts. They're from a brand called Salt Rock, which is I do a bit of surfing, cycling, and stuff, outdoor pursuits. And Salt Rock, I just love the brand, and they were good quality shirts. And then Satna pointed out to me, she was like, "Well, actually, that kind of really reflects that fearless edge to you." And have you
Mm,
noticed actually, because she's one of my clients too, have you noticed actually that a lot of your clients, Robin, your fearless crew are very much of that? They've got these really cool, quirky things which they do behind the scenes. So
right.
actually, it's like a really deeper meaning behind the whole sort of fearless brand as a whole.
Yeah,
But yeah, the key message is just those little things that are stopping you from, when you see somebody else with some element of success, well, at some point they busted through the fear and are
yeah,
doing the things now that you're too afraid to do.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's talk about productizing services.
Yes.
So what does that actually mean?
So there's this concept around services are defined by selling time for money
Mm,
traditionally. So you think about your graphic designer or your coach or your consultant, or your agency owner. Typically, they'll be charging an element of per session or hourly rates or day rates. And there's a few flaws around like hourly rates essentially. So imagine hypothetically, let's say, imagine Steph, you're in the market for a website, and we had three website designers we were going to choose from.
mm,
So the first one shows up, let's call him Derek. And Derek's, like, right, Steph, it's going to cost you £50 an hour. And I reckon it'll take me 20 hours to build this site. And you think £1,000 for a website seems fair. So he disappears off for 6 months. And the reason he's gone for so long is because he's didn't tell you he wasn't very experienced. So he's not built many sites. So it takes him ages. He's also too cheap because he's taken on too many clients now. So 6 months he comes back and you look at the site and you go, "Where's my blog and my shopping cart that you promised me, Derek?" And
mm,
Derek goes, "Oh, that's really annoying. I forgot about those, but I'm gonna have to charge you an extra 10 hours to add those on." And you're like, "Well, hang on a second. We agreed £1,000. That doesn't equate." So you're a bit pissed off at Derek.
hmm.
Derek's now pissed off and reluctant because he's deep down a decent guy. So he reluctantly agrees to do the extra 10 hours for free, but not really the best client, like relationship, service
Yeah.
provider relationship. So there's our first clue that hourly rates don't really work. And the mere
Mm,
fact that like a lot of, not that anybody ethically would or morally would do this, but the fact that hourly rates only work in around, they only benefit or stand to benefit the service provider. So the more hours you sell, the more money you make. So therefore,
hmm.
it's my prerogative to sell you more hours, irrespective of whether you need them or not. Now, most
Yeah.
people wouldn't do that because they're decent people, but in fact, you could. shows
Hmm.
me that again hourly rates are flawed. So web designer number two comes along. We'll call her Anya. So Anya's a website ninja. She's been doing it a while. More experienced than Derek was. She does it faster and she does a better job. So she gets the website done in 10 hours, but she doesn't know what Steph and Robin know about pricing. So therefore, she does it in 10 hours. She's also charging £50 an hour. So hang on a second. She gets paid half what Derek does for doing a better job in a faster time to a higher quality. Again, so second
Hmm.
clue that hourly rates just
Yeah.
don't really, if you're more experienced and you do things faster, you don't get rewarded for that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got finally Kevin, right? Kevin's like a whiz. He's been doing this for years, but he really understands that what Steph needs for her website is leads. She's not interested, actually, whether she needs a blog or a shopping cart is irrelevant. If Kev can get you 10 to 15 fully qualified leads a month for your business, you know that that would be transformational. So that's his promise. He'll have that website set up in 72 hours, lead gen machine. And his promise to you as well, Steph, is that if his website isn't generating those leads within 30 days, he'll refund you all of the money you've invested in it, and he'll give you an extra £1,000 for wasting your time. And you can spend that on Derek or Anya if you want to. Okay. And you're probably thinking, that sounds amazing. Like, how much is it? Kev's websites are 10K each, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if you get those 10 to 15 fully qualified leads each and every month, and you know what your average customer lifetime value is, so
Hmm.
that dream outcome is met, that 10K will be paid down in a month or two. It'll be a very quick
Yeah.
sort of process. And
Yeah.
now you've got this kick-ass website just producing leads for you month in, month out. And
Hmm.
that's what productizing a service is. It's about three things. What's the dream outcome that the client is looking for?
Yeah.
Can it be delivered over a fixed period of time or within a fixed period of time? And then finally, for a fixed fee. So there's no extra bells or whistles or add-ons or upsells or things like that. There could be if you
Yeah.
wanted to, but what you get is a really clearly defined outcome, and that's what you're paying for. Not for an HTML standards compliant website with a blog and a shopping cart and all of those things that sit underneath the hood.
My eyes glazed over straight away then.
Yep, sorry about that. Harking back to my web design days, sorry. It still comes very naturally to me, obviously. But yeah, what you want is you want leads for your business. You want to make more money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ultimately that it's being able to have the confidence to package up the value proposition around that desired result or outcome.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So, what was the other part that we were going to talk about? There was another P, wasn't there?
Pricing.
Yeah, pricing. Okay, so let's go through your thoughts on that because I recently done a workshop that you run, didn't I?
Yeah,
And when I say my mind was blown, I am not exaggerating. I came away and the first thing I'd done was voice noted my business mentor. And I was like, oh my God, I've just done this workshop. What do you think of this? And like, and it wasn't changing the price, it was the way that it was communicated and the way payments are collected. And
yeah,
that was something that I had never considered. So, and this is why another reason that I'm also a super fan now, because it's like I would never have ever thought of that. And I've not seen any other OBM or VA agencies doing that either. So I think it's quite standout.
yeah. The pricing side of things is challenging because everybody's first thought when it comes to setting their prices is to go and look at their competitors,
Mm,
um, which is fine. I'd suggest it's a good idea actually to go and look at your competitors, but the
yeah.
mistake is assuming that they actually know what they're doing or that their business is definitely making money. The amount of businesses out there, well, there's a statistic that the top 10% in any industry are extracting 60% of the value out of that industry, which means
Wow.
that the other 90% of people are scrapping over 40% of what's left. So
Mm,
if you're in the lower half of like the averages there, like pricing wise, you're not going to be running a profitable or
no
sustainable
chance.
business. It's going to be very
Yeah.
disappointing.
Mm,
The other thing as well is like when you look at your competitors pricing wise, that there could be a dozen VAs working locally in your area.
hmm.
Um, but how many of you are experts on pricing? I'd probably guarantee none of you are. And so
Yeah.
you kind of all looking at each other for your prices. But imagine if, I don't know, Susan is charging below market rate and everybody has copied Susan. But what Susan didn't tell you was that she's actually losing money each and every month. You're all about to copy a flawed business model.
Mm,
So we can look at our competitors to kind of see what's working, maybe discern what's not working. But pricing is a very dangerous thing to base your business model on your competitors with.
mm,
Um, well, at the very least, what you want to do is you want to be pricing yourself at the upper end of the market. You don't necessarily have to be the most expensive, but if you're in the top 10%, you're winning generally as a rule of thumb. But when you actually do look at the most expensive in your market, and it doesn't matter whether you're looking at web designers or VAs or coaches or engineering companies, the company that is the most expensive generally has been around for the longest. They've got the
mm,
most reviews on Google and or TripAdvisor or Trustpilot or wherever.
mm-hmm.
Um, they've got lots of good positive client case studies and testimonials, video testimonials on their sites. And the clue actually is the fact that they are the most expensive, yet they're still able to get clients. So the biggest misconception is that if I put my prices up, clients will leave.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely right. Some clients will leave. That's actually a
Yeah.
good thing, right?
Mm,
Because um, again, a common scenario is I hear is like people be like, well, I think I'm a good salesperson. If you put me in the room with the right client, I convert 90% of the time. And you have to remember that that's almost like imagine if you were driving down the motorway and you're like in third gear and your car's bouncing off the rev limiter in the red at 6,000 RPM, right? No matter how hard you push the accelerator, you can't go any
mm,
faster. There's no extra
yeah.
feedback you can get from that, right?
Yeah.
And this is like small business owners who aren't charging enough. They're like absolutely maxed out at capacity, going scratching their head each month, going, well, why am I not making enough money? And why does this feel like it's really hard work? And I'm working all these hours, yet everybody tells me I need to market myself and get more clients, but I can't get any more clients because I'm running at max capacity at the
Yeah.
moment, right?
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to artificially decrease our conversion rate. So we want to we want to raise our prices, change, shift gear. We want to move up into
Yeah.
fourth gear. So now actually the car's bobbing along down the motorway at 1800 RPM. And in business terms, conversion terms, we're talking here like 20 to 40% is the sweet spot conversion wise. So there's a massive inherent amount of failure built into a business that's sustainable. We're turning away far more clients than we're actually taking on. And we
Yeah.
control that conversion rate by our price. If we get better at sales, or we get a better reputation, or we get more Google reviews, and therefore more demand starts to come in, and our conversion rate creeps up, well, we've got bandwidth to push our prices up and bring our conversion rate down a little bit. And
Yeah.
like the ultimate business, in my view, is one where you've got, double the income but with half the clients. So
Yes.
you have more time, so you've got more money coming in to start off with, more time then to deliver a better quality product or service, which
Mm,
on the back end gets your clients better results, which makes you more referable, which makes you more sticky as well. Clients stick around for longer. So
yeah.
therefore you make more money on the back end and you create this really virtuous sort of cycle here.
Mm,
Um, the challenge though, so this is where the mindset side of it comes in. Oh, if I put my price up, everybody's going to leave. Well, first of all, do you have any evidence for that?
mm,
Right? Most people, when I tell them to double their prices, oh, everybody will leave. Based on what? What evidence do you have? Have you ever doubled your prices and tried it? No. Well, okay, well, let's at least go and prove Robin wrong and double your prices and then come back and tell me everybody's left. But some statistics for you. So I learned this very valuable lesson in my agency days. So, and we're going back now to the big financial crisis around about 2008. And
yeah.
I'd been in the web design game for about 4 years, and I'm slightly embarrassed by the numbers, but we used to charge for our websites and then charge for hosting and like support afterwards. And at the
Right.
time, it was £10 a month to get that, right?
God.
Bear in mind, this is like a long time ago now, in Robin's lifetime and what I know. So £10 a month. And I had a stand-up row with my business partner at the time and I said, listen, chaos in the market generally, and all of our competitors were like driving the prices right down to the bottom. It's like scrapping over over what was left. And I saw people going out of business very quickly within a month because they just didn't have the margins. And I was like, to my business partner, I was like, this isn't, we shouldn't do that. We should like go the opposite direction of everybody else, raise our prices. And he thought I was an idiot. But we went not just like a little bit. I was like, we need to 5x our prices. So we went from £10 a month to £50 a month. We stacked a load of extra value in. So we gave more support time, uptime guarantees, and a few other bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And I'm never a fan of just jacking your prices up and not stacking any extra value. I should just really emphasize that. You got to add something else into it.
Yeah.
Um, and out of our 100 plus clients, yeah, 40% of them left. However, which was a disaster. And my business partner was like, "Told you so." And I was like, "Yeah, but just hang fire a second. I've got a good feeling about this. Don't know why at that particular point, but I was like, got a good feeling." 30 days pass and we get our first profit and loss back from the accountants. And our revenue for support fees had gone up by 2.5 times. So 40% fewer clients, 2.5 times more revenue. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Told you so."
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But bonus, our support calls that we were getting from the 60% of clients that were left dropped by over 80%.
Wow.
So the 40% of clients that left because they didn't get our value, and like we did, I was really proud of like what we created and what the service we delivered. They left and took all of their problems with them that they were
Okay.
bringing to us.
Yeah.
Um, so for one, there is such a thing as a bad client,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And perhaps we didn't qualify them well enough back then, or what, any number of different reasons.
Mm.
The second thing is as well, when people don't pay much for something, they don't value it, or they expect the moon
No.
on a stick.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not as invested, are they? If they're paying like a tenner a month is nothing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that definitely.
But the scale of the problem is huge to them. If their website goes down and now they can't make money through it, as we had
Mm.
several clients on e-commerce plans, that was a disaster to them. And so then the stress for us wasn't worth the 10 quid a month we were making. But at £50 a month, where we could do more for them and make everything better, the vast majority of those clients then we didn't hear from 1 year to the next because we had more resources to do a better job.
Yeah.
So that was a huge learning for me. The second learning I had around pricing was around like confidence to say big numbers, right?
Okay.
It's really easy to sell £50 over and over and over again in the business world because it's a small number in some respects. Obviously depends on what it's for, but it's a small number. And it's easy to say £50, but versus saying £1,500 or 5K or 50K for a product or service, a lot of people struggle with that because
Mm.
many of if you I'm not going to regress people to their childhoods here, but many people, this will be a familiar story where a lot of the conversations which they had or what happened in their household growing up would have been, um, we can't afford that, Robin, or we can't go on holiday this year because we don't have the money, or when you're not going to have those trainers. I'd see all my mates with their smart trainers at the school I went to, and oh no, we can't get those for you. You've got to go and have your cheap whatever version of that. Um,
Money
and
grows on trees, that
money
kind of
grows
thing.
on trees, money's root of all evil, all the cliched sayings as well. But for me, at my growing up, it was quite volatile. A lot of the conversations about money, to the
Hmm.
extent I'd spend some time upstairs hiding from my parents while stuff was being thrown and shouting was happening.
Yeah.
And I realized as I was growing my agency, that I had this massive, don't know what the word is, limiting belief around, especially around saying these big numbers. I had no confidence to say big numbers to people. And
Right.
whenever somebody asked me for, "Oh, I'll write your proposal," so I'd hide behind proposals and I wouldn't have that awkward conversation with them. And it wasn't until I started having conversations with people about money. One day I just thought, I'm fed up of writing proposals. I think that pain got too big for me. Sending proposals out, you put your heart and soul like for 4 hours into a proposal and then they ghost you. That's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was like, I'm done with that. So I started telling people the price, and then lo and behold, a couple of people thought it was too expensive. Most people thought the prices that we were charging were okay. Few people even said it was too cheap, which was great. Then I couldn't tell them another number because I'd already given the first number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I realized actually it wasn't anything to be scared of, especially in the business sense. And even the ones where we did get objections and people did say it was too expensive, I could ask them, well, why do you say that? What are you comparing it to? What were you hoping? What was your budget? So it just opened up that conversation. And the pinnacle, we created these amazing like 1 day branding workshops where we used to have this convoluted back and forth like, £50 an hour type thing over 3 months to deliver a logo, and but only 10 hours of billable time. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if we could deliver these things in a day? Imagine we got the client in, we got a designer in, I'll facilitate it, and then we'll
Yeah.
see if we can create a logo and a brand for them in a day. um, and it was great. So I came up with this concept, and then just universe does weird and wonderful things. I had a prospect come in, a client come into my office and say, actually, we've got a product launch next week. We need a logo by Monday. Can you deliver it? And I was like, no effing way.
Yeah.
But thankfully, he said, surely there must be a way that we can do this. I've heard you're really good. I would like to work with you. Like, what can we do? And I said, well, I've got this idea about doing it in a day. I'm not sure if it will work or not. I've got a framework for it that I think could work. And he was like, let's do it. And I was like, okay, we're doing it. So we booked him in on the Thursday. Oh, and before he left as well, we had the pricing conversation and he said, well, how much is it going to cost me? And I'd very recently learned the time quality cost triangle. It's like, if you want it fast and done well, it's not going to be cheap, right? It's going to be
Hmm.
expensive. And so he said, how much? And I just went, oh, 1,500 quid. Like that's three times our previous hourly rate. And he
Yeah.
went, yeah, no problem. And he give me your bank details, I'll transfer it now. Holy shit, you want to pay for this up front? So like literally it was like all of these learnings happening in this one sort of meeting, in this one experience. So we do it. It took all day. It was a bit of a mess, but he walked away with he was really happy.
Good.
I was exhausted, but it worked, right? And we got paid in advance for it as well, which we'd never had for many of our projects. Um, and then a weird thing happened. A few weeks later, one of my mentors, great guy called Nick, he phoned me up and he said, Rob, and we'd started doing these things regularly by this point. He said, Rob, I need you to, got a client in York, a big client. They're a 60 million pound construction recruitment company. They've got this software business. We want you to rebrand it tomorrow. And I was like, Nick, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to drive up to York for like 1,500 quid like tomorrow. And my family,
Yeah.
my first daughter's long at this point. I'm like, I'm to tell my wife. It's like, Nick, no, it's just not. And he said, don't worry, Rob, give me 5 minutes. Calls me back 5 minutes later and he said, you're probably going to want to get in your car. He said, I've got this booked for you for 18K. And I was already in the car, like halfway up the
Shit.
M5. Fine. Obviously, he took his cut, so he took 20% of that. But I walked away with 15 grand, 10 times what I got my previous day rate at.
That's
You know,
mental.
and I was like, Nick, how did you do that? And he kind of started. Then this is probably a conversation for another podcast episode altogether. But he walked me through how to sell like these higher ticket packages and various
Okay.
things like that. Gave me a
Yeah.
really solid framework for it. But it showed me that something that we'd sold for 500 quid and then raised the price to 1,500 because we packaged it up. Remember,
Yeah.
dream outcome, client wants a logo in one day and it's 1,500 quid. So we've covered all of those three bases. That actually, when you've then got that framework together, people have different perceptions of value. And to one
Mm.
person, it's worth 1,500 quid, but tomorrow it could be worth 15 grand to somebody. The same process, same product, but with a very different outcome for them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of business owners shy away from that. So what we do and what we did with you, Steph, during that workshop, there's this process where when I'm coaching somebody on this, um, I don't know if this will work or not, so we may just have to sort of go along with it. But is there a product which you've been thinking about selling?
Well, our new services are our OBM services,
Yeah.
which is our package. So our monthly retainer package.
But let's dare to dream for a second. Let's pick something outside of it. So I don't know, maybe you have like a hobby or a passion or something like that, and you think, oh, I could create a business out of this.
So I do eventually want to get into mentoring for new VAs.
Great. Okay. So imagine now you've got your Platinum Plus VA mentoring service. Okay, it's a 6-month program. I'm going to shortcut some of this.
Yeah.
Before we met, how would you have priced that?
Ooh, let's go with a one-to-one service just to keep it easy.
Okay, one-to-one service over how many months?
6.
6 months. Okay, so what, a monthly session or fortnightly session?
A monthly session with like access to me for reviewing documents and voice notes, stuff like that. So access outside of the monthly calls. Probably a 90-minute call every month.
Nice. Okay, so six coaching sessions plus a bit of extra support. And how
Yeah.
much would you how would you have charged for that sort of prior to meeting me?
Probably about £500 a month.
Okay, so 3K in total. Okay.
Mm,
What's the potential upside for a VA?
how do you mean?
So they go through 6 months worth of mentoring with you.
Yeah.
What are they going to learn? What's it going to enable them to do?
So they're going to have their packages like all planned out, mapped out, created probably by the time the 6 months is up. They're going to know how to market their business.
Yep.
to get new clients, get visible. They're going to know which systems they're going to need to automate the business.
Yep.
Um, so
So
yeah,
all of that
they're
leads to,
ultimately going to have clients. Yeah,
okay, so more clients, so which leads to
money.
how much more money? Could we define it
Oh,
on
so
average?
if I was going to go for new VAs, so I would essentially be taking them from zero to I'd probably be able to get them 5k a month
5K a
to
month.
begin
Okay,
with.
so
Yeah.
5K a month ad infinitum, but let's say that it's just, year one, they get 60K.
Yeah.
3K feels a little bit cheap to me.
Yeah, it does when you put it like that.
And
Yeah.
imagine over like 10 years, that's like 600K if they just stay at 60K, right? So
Mm,
they pay 3 grand and now they're able to make, over 500,000 quid from you. Okay. So
yeah.
this is the point where you will now keep yourself silent, but let's just see what happens. So 3K we decided is cheap. What about 4K, 4.5K, 5K, 6K? Okay, we're there already. Okay.
Yeah.
So to rationalize this for those watching or listening in, so Steph's body language just shifted. When I was going through the numbers there, escalating the numbers, her eyes went up and left, your left.
Yeah.
And I could see a little bit of tension in your shoulders. You kind of like smiled a little bit because there was that sort of disbelief or kind of, could I really sell it for that?
Yeah.
So your head, when you tried to intellectualize this, your head worked out £500 a month. I did the sum 6 months and it's 3K, but your heart actually tells us that probably you should be looking at between 5 and 6K for this because
Mm,
that's what your true value is worth.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And this
Okay.
this is where we always have that butting of heads between the head and the heart.
Mm,
The head is very good at intellectualizing stuff and doing the maths, but it's very good at our brain is very good at talking us out of why our worth
protecting
isn't that
us.
much. Our
Yeah.
heart is the thing which knows what our true worth is worth, and is easier to negotiate with because it likes to it stands for something. So for you, it's
Yeah.
standing for 5 or 6K for that
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow. Okay.
and
Yeah.
this is
Well,
the thing, like,
there's my VA mentoring packages sorted.
but that's it. You can hang your hat on that now. And if you sold it for 5K a pop, again, you wouldn't just do 5K divided by 6 months, and therefore it's whatever the maths on that is per month. Because otherwise, again, people treat it like a Netflix subscription. You're
Yeah.
selling a product, remember. It's not like with a car. Yeah, you can get loan packages on cars and things like that, but generally you have to pay a deposit. So
Yes.
and you have to pay all of the installments, whether you choose to drive that car every day or for one day and then decide to send it back. You've still bought the car and
Yeah.
it's you've got value from it. So it's the same in business terms. So what I would do is something like, just think about the maths for a second. Probably do something like, if it's 5K, maybe 2K up front and then 5 installments at 600 a month.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
your monthly that you've anchored people into isn't that far dissimilar after
Yes.
they've paid the upfront. But what the 2K upfront does is it front loads your cash flow.
Mm, mm,
Imagine now you get 2K up front. There's going to be a certain amount of work that you've got to do up front with the client anyway, typically, whether it's a coaching client, a VA client, or whoever client.
yeah.
But it means you could do something really extra special for them. Could you put
Yeah.
together a welcome pack, with a
Hmm.
load of books and resources and things like that? I remember once signing up to years ago, I signed up to a podcast concierge service where literally they would go out and find me, 10 high quality podcasts
Yeah.
to guest on. And I remember about a month after I'd signed up, and it wasn't cheap either. When I'd signed up, I got this box UPS parcel come through, and I was like, "Oh no, it's this." And it was really bright yellow box. Inside there were, the polystyrene things that you get, packaging things. They were bright
Oh
yellow as
yeah.
well.
Packing
Like everything
peanuts.
was all branded like bright yellow and orange and stuff. That was their brand. And then they put this $250 microphone in there. I was blown
Wow.
away, plus a load of other things as well. In fact, this is one of them that I've still got it, to this day. You can't really see that very well, but this is just what they call a flag to sit on your microphone, but it just
Oh, okay. Yeah.
doesn't fit on here, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would put it on there.
Oh, you're gonna have to get a different microphone then.
But just this most wonderful. What was the first thing that I did when I got that welcome pack?
Thank him.
I thanked them
Tag
definitely.
him.
I'm on social taking
Tag him.
photos of it, going, oh my God, look what I've just got from Interview Valet.
Yeah.
Tom's just sent me this wonderful package with this amazing. And of course, next thing you know, three of my sort of associates, colleagues, coaching friends have signed up to go with Interview Valet. right? So
Mm,
there's some really cool, but you can, if you were just charging 500 quid a month and you've got to take three, that nearly the full month out to give somebody a wow gift to welcome
yeah,
them in,
yeah, it's
um,
not work, is it?
yeah, you're going to be reluctant to do that. So
Mm,
again, price, money is great because you get money, you can do cool stuff with it. And this is probably one of the strongest messages I'd like to leave people with. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to help more people, so therefore I got to be cheap, or I want to give back. So they choose to give away a certain amount of their profits away right from the word go. I'd actually say don't do that because if you're cheap and you get hemmed into making 30 grand a year, say, and then you give away 10% of your profits on top of that as well. So let's say you make 30k, but it's 20k profit, and you give away another 2k. Well, you've only got 18k to live off. If you're a little
yeah,
bit selfish for a couple of years, and it means you can get to 30k a month, think of how many people you can then help and
yes.
support, okay? And think of the extra value you can deliver to your existing clients to make their lives better. And
It's
actually
really leave your
working,
mark as well, isn't it? It's like it's leaving a stamp kind of thing.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like the sad thing, there will always be other people to service the clients you don't work with. And you may worry about the quality if they go to one of your competitors who are a bit inferior and they're not doing quite as good work as you are. There is
Mm,
always that worry or concern. But one of the things I've discovered is that they will eventually come back.
yeah.
Everybody has fair choice. If they choose to go to somebody cheaper, then working with
Mm,
Robin, Fearless Business Coach, like no problem with that. But they will also get a cheaper experience quite often. And so
yes.
eventually they'll drift back. And I'm never like a hey, told you so type guy. I'm very much like welcome you with open arms. Right, let's work to get that money back for you.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and I can do that because I kind of have chosen to go down that quality, and qualification route.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so I think that is going to be the end of this episode. But you would like to promote something, wouldn't you?
Yes. Well, actually, two things, if I may, because
Two things, go for it.
so
I
I've
know what one of them is.
I've written several books. Now I'm going to ask people not to take the piss because obviously there is a cost associated with books and things like that. So I'm gonna say you can request a copy of either Take Your Shot or the Fearless Business Blueprint. If you want them both, just be generous and just make a contribution towards postage. That's all I will say because it's not cheap now these days to post.
No.
Printing books cheap. Posting is actually really bloody expensive.
Royal
Um,
Mail were taking the absolute piss with their postage prices, can I just say?
Yeah. So so if you head on over to fearless.biz/books, you can go and select which book you would like. Or like I said, you can request them both, but just drop me a message and just say, hey Rob, I'm going to make a contribution towards postage. And I'll sign those and pop them in the post to you. If you like stories, Take Your Shot is a good book. So it's a story about Russ, the golf pro, who, one of my first coaching clients, and it's literally told as a parable. This one, the blueprint is a bit more formulaic. It's got 7 steps in it. It's actually a blueprint for a successful business. So
Yeah,
putting those out there.
yeah. So I got a copy of Take Your Shot a couple of weeks before Atomicon where I met you. And I started reading it the night before Atomicon and I got about 3/4 of the way through. And then I read the rest afterwards in my hotel room. So I read it in less than 24 hours and it is epic. Like it's such an eye opener and it seems like such a simple story as such, even though it's something that you've coached someone on.
Yeah.
Um and even though some bits you feel like you already know what what you do in that instance, but everything from that book has stuck in my head. So that tells me it's a good book and how quickly I read it as well. But I've
I
only
did
just started
well,
the
I
other one.
designed it that way, Steph. I want it like there's so many big, thick, like how-to books that you have to
Mm,
like, chunk through like one chapter at a time. And I was like, no, I want a book to be fun. I want it to have like 5 really valuable business lessons in there because I could overwhelm it with 40, but I thought, no, I'll put the 5 most important in it.
mm,
And it's a true story up until about page 74, and then I use a bit of artistic license around Russ's goals and things. But
yeah,
that entertainment piece and quick read is like massively important. People just don't have the time these days.
big time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've read some big old business books and I don't know how. But that one, it seems to have had more of an impact on me. So that
Good.
tells me it's amazing.
I'm pleased. Oh, thank you, Steph.
No problem. Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I will make sure all the links and everything are in the show notes, so anyone can
Awesome.
go and have a look. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Streamline and Shine. If you have questions on what we covered inside, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Bolton_virtual_solutions, or you can email us at teambolton@boltonvirtualsolutions.co.uk. We absolutely love hearing from our amazing community and are always here to support you. If you'd like to be interviewed on a future episode, please drop us an email letting us know which topic you'd like to speak about and we'll get back to you. See you on the next episode, lovelies.